Welcome to another FPL video. Today we're looking ahead to Game Week 14 and the best wildcard team. If you end up enjoying it or finding it useful, then be sure to drop this video a like and let's try to get this to over 300. And we're also looking to push on towards 17,000 subscribers. Thank you very much for all your support. And without further ado, let's get straight into this video. By this point, you probably would have realized that there is no standout goalkeeper, and Kepa has some really tough games over the next three, so you could actually go for someone else instead. And I wouldn't blame you at all, but from Game Week 17 onwards, I definitely would go for Kepa. I also talked about him from last week's wildcard video, and he's just a great option at 4.5. By the point that everyone will probably get them into their teams, he's going to be a little bit more than that. But I have to say, definitely eye him up for the unlimited transfers we get for the World Cup heading into Game Week 17 on Boxing Day. I think Kepa will be a great choice by then. If you're not convinced with the fixtures of Brighton, Newcastle and Arsenal over the next three, then who do you go for instead? Well, you've got a few options to be fair. There is no clear standout, and that's why I have gone for Kepa Arrizabalaga. I think there is one or two clean sheets over the next three. But if you aren't convinced, that's completely fair enough. You could maybe go for Dean Henderson, who does face Arsenal, but then the two games after that are two home games where he could get plenty of returns. And we've seen from him plenty of times this season, he has the highest ceiling of any goalkeeper on a consistent basis. A really good penalty stopper. He also makes a lot of saves. And whenever Nottingham Forest keep a clean sheet, especially in a narrow win or maybe a draw, then Dean Henderson will be right up there in terms of the bonus points. So it's completely up to you. Let me know your thoughts. And a few others would include Robert Sanchez and, more importantly, Jordan Pickford, who's another one with two home games coming up. But let me know your thoughts in terms of the best goalkeeper long term, and looking beyond Game Week 17. It definitely is Kepa. Over the next three, it definitely is up for debate. And you could argue Dean Henderson is the best one. And he now has the most points of any goalkeeper. He's still relatively cheap at 4.7 million. I just don't really trust Nottingham Forest defensively enough. And because of that, I'm going to stick with Arrizabalaga. But like I said, I do entertain and encourage you to put your thoughts forward. Danny Ward is going to be the second goalkeeper. He's kept 4 clean sheets in his last 5 games. He's 4.1 million. The fixtures are poor, but you're not going to be starting him anyway. It doesn't matter. These are your two goalkeepers on the wildcard. And Salah and Trippier are featured in every single one of these wildcard team videos in essence. So I'm not going to go into them too much. You know how good they are. They've got the clean sheet probabilities. They've also got some good underlying numbers. Trippier is second for expected assists of any player in the entire league, only behind Kevin De Bruyne. Cancelo's underlying numbers aren't that great, but his performances are, and he also is a bonus points machine. But now looking at the other three, Ben White has 2 really good games coming up over the next 3. And against Chelsea, you could easily bench him. You've got Diego Dallo, who's also got some good fixtures for Man United, who have looked much better defensively over the last month or so. And Ten Hag has slowly but surely started to oversee some improvement there for Man United, and I think he's a good value option. He's the best United defender to go for. He's got a bit of attacking threat. There's a lot of boxes that are ticked by him. And we've got Nico Williams as your budget defender, very budget friendly. But one player or maybe team that you want to cover defensively would be Everton with Connor Cody, Tarkowski, or maybe Pickford in goal. So do consider an Everton asset. They've got some great games up until the World Cup, so they could offer you some really good value as well. It all depends on your budget. But this backline overall is very, very solid. I have to say, Cancelo and Trippier speak for themselves. White would also be my third defender for sure. But then you've got the likes of Dallo, who maybe still a bit debatable. Nico Williams for sure. And there's not really anyone else that stands out. But if you have another opinion, then be sure to let me know. And I think there's a really good backline with the goalkeepers included. A site you never thought you would see, Almiron, in a best wildcard team video. I talked about buying him several weeks ago. And although I thought Xhaka was a slightly better option, I have reconsidered. Over the last 4 or 5 game weeks, Almiron has simply been unplayable. Newcastle have some great games as well to round off the first half of the season. They've got Chelsea in there, but I wouldn't be surprised if Almiron got some returns in that game as well. And for the value he offers, I think he's just a no-brainer. I would go for him, and he could even be considered as a Salah replacement to then bring in Harry Kane up front. I'm not even, joking here. It sounds ridiculous, but that's just the way things have been going at the moment. With the rest of the midfield, you could say, you have a few issues with it, like having double Arsenal midfield in Saka and Martinelli. But honestly, I would. And around Martinelli's price and below, there's no one else I would consider except Almiron, who's already in this team. And Bukayo Saka is one of the best options, period. And he was very disappointing against Southampton, but I would expect him to bounce back and hopefully get some rest in the Europa League, where Arsenal are close to sealing the group as well. And then Phil Foden, another disappointment from Game Week 13, but still a great option. And he is going to be first choice in most Premier League games this season, with the exception of some occasions where you have a really important cup tie, especially in the Champions League later on. But for the most part, Foden will play in the Premier League, and it won't be a disappointment like it was in Game Week 13. Almiron speaks for himself, like I said. And Andreas Pereira, he's got some poor fixtures, but he can sit on your bench for most of it, so it's not really a big issue. And there's no one else I would consider apart from Bailey at his price and below. And I think this midfield is really solid. It's not the best looking midfield you'll see on paper throughout the whole season. You've got a few omissions in there, like De Bruyne and Salah, and also maybe you could say Jarrod Bowen and Mason Mount, but this midfield will do the job over the next 3 game weeks. Haaland is one of the few exceptions where I would say a player is essential, and I would captain him in pretty much any single home game he has. You could maybe look to captain someone else when he has an away fixture, but honestly, just have Haaland and captain him pretty much every single time. With a few exceptions, of course. You want to be different and start to gain rank on others, and there will be opportunities to maybe go against the Haaland captaincy. But Harry Kane, for me, is the best premium other than Erling Haaland, and you've also got Kevin De Bruyne fighting for that second spot. It's between those two at the moment, but I would favour Harry Kane, who also offers you a different fixture. When City maybe have a tough game like Liverpool away, as they showed last week, you can go for someone like Harry Kane, who might have a much better game instead, and he is so consistent. He's only blanked twice this season. He's on penalties, of course, and he's a great penalty taker overall. He has scored a lot of headers from set pieces. He can score from open play, get assists. So Harry Kane just ticks all the boxes, really good for bonus points, and he speaks for himself. Ivan Toney is a bit of a weird one because he's 1 yellow card away from suspension, but over the next 2 games, I back him to get some big returns against Wolves and Nottingham Forest. Then he's got a really tough game in Gameweek 16, and that's when you can get rid of him. And also, if you want, because you have a lot of money in the bank with this squad, you could maybe consider someone like Darwin Núñez or perhaps Roberto Firmino, and I personally would favour Firmino. So it just depends on what you're looking for, really, with the best wildcard team. There might be a few punts that you want to take over the next 3 game weeks, and Firmino or Núñez could be one of them. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And you could also, if you decide to stick with Ivan Toney, which is completely fair enough, you can maybe upgrade Andreas Pereira to Trossard. He's also got some good games. There's maybe 1 or 2 bad games you could say over the next 3. But on the whole, Trossard is capable of scoring against anybody. He scored at the Etihad, the Emirates Stadium, the Tottenham Stadium. He's a really good fixture-proof player, in my opinion. But it's all completely down to you. Let me know what you would change with this wildcard squad. And that is pretty much it in terms of this video. In terms of the captaincy, unfortunately, I have to say again, it probably would be Erling Haaland, but you can consider Harry Kane as a differential captaincy option. There's no doubt about it against Bournemouth, who have been decent, to be fair, and they deserve a bit more credit. But Harry Kane is so consistent, and to be fair, the fixture is better on paper at this moment in time, with Leicester improving dramatically over the last month or so. I appreciate you stopping by, and if you ended up enjoying this video, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's get this video to over 300 likes, and let's also push on towards 17,000 subscribers. Thank you very much for all your support. I will be back next week, and there will be more regular content, you could say, on a consistent basis, and the kind of next big streams will be the UCL Fantasy Matchday 6 deadline stream, and there also could be a reaction stream after the Gameweek 14 deadline, but probably no Gameweek 14 deadline stream. I will be traveling on that day, but I'll be back very soon, and hopefully everything will be good by then. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and also become a Patreon or a channel member. The links are in the description below. The same goes for the FPL League and the Discord server. All of that is there. I wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 14 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.